Just getting about ready to start, everyone. So if everyone but commissioners could turn off their cameras, that would be real helpful. Allow us to see if we have all our commissioners here. Well, I think we're all here. Jenny, you want to crank up the recording? All right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Commissioner John Slutsky, and this is the November meeting of the Air Quality Control Commission. It is Wednesday, November 19th, 2025 at 4:31 p.m., and we are convening this meeting today online via Zoom. Please be advised that this meeting will be recorded and streamed live via YouTube. The recording will also be made available to the public for viewing after the event. Public comment today will begin around 5 or so instead of our regular 4:30, and the commission will offer 2 minutes to each commenter and 3 minutes for our public officials. We have a quorum today, 9 commissioners, and that would include myself, Curtis Reeder, Greg Thomas, Gary Arnold, Dan Blankenship, Jana Milford, Martha Rudolph, Shelley Minter. I'm sorry, my first time when I said your name wrong. Shelley Miller and Jim Sewell. Shelley and Jim are here for the first time, new commissioners, and we will afford them a chance to introduce themselves tomorrow before our hearing gets going. We are also supported today by commission staff, Jeremy Murray, our administrator, Robin Willey, commission counsel, and Corey Holler, our commission counsel, Tom Rowan, our special advisor, and Jenny Ray, our program coordinator. We're going to begin our meeting with a few briefings and reports, and we'll start that with commissioner information items. This is a chance for commissioners to share and discuss activities that they have participated in over the course of the last month and any issues relevant to the commission's business. Commissioners, does anyone have anything to share? Well, in that case, we're just going to move on to our division director's report. Commissioner Ogletree, are you here?
I'm here. I'm not Director Ogletree, but I will be serving in his role for today. So hello, commissioners. My name is Stephanie Schaup. I'm the Deputy Director for Regulatory Affairs for the Air Pollution Control Division, and I am pretending to be Michael for this evening. So, some updates for you all. In regulatory affairs, our planning and policy team continues to engage with stakeholders on upcoming rulemaking efforts, including our federal oil and gas rules, annual reporting requirements, and the development of control regulations for priority toxic air contaminants. And our 2025 NOx intensity reporting has started this month. So, we are looking forward to a little bit more about that. Robin, you have your hand up. Should I hold for a second?
Sorry, Zoom fail.
Okay, I didn't know if you were trying to interrupt me. So for business operations legislative updates, as you might know, the legislative session, there we go, is going to be starting soon. It feels like it just ended and it will be starting again here very soon. So we are starting to take a look at what may be shaping up this year on the legislative agenda. Some things that we can see coming from the department as a whole are updating the mobile home park water quality program, where the proposal would carry out no-cost fixes to the mobile home park Water Quality Act to address welfare-related water issues and improve resident notifications, ensuring the program is effective in protecting the health and welfare of mobile home park residents. And another one is to align nursing home penalty fund with federal law. So this proposal would revise the allowable uses of the nursing home penalty cash fund to align with federal law. This could make approximately $16 million available for statewide training for nurses and for tuition reimbursement programs. So we will continue to keep you updated as future legislative actions begin here soon. The governor's fiscal year 27 budget was released on November 1st, 2025. The budget proposal includes $1.7 million for technology modernization projects. So we appreciate the continued focus on updating and improving our technology and data efforts. To support the division's fiscal sustainability, a fee increase totaling $13.5 million is planned for consideration by the Air Quality Control Commission in spring of 2026. If you pay attention to your calendar, you may have seen that that was added for May of 2026, and we will be bringing that proposal to you soon. For CDPHE, fiscal year 27 budget highlights include additional funding for the Public Health State Lab, continuing clean water for schools and childcare centers by extending lead testing and remediation of drinking water, closed landfill remediation grant program, spending authority to support the implementation of House Bill 23-1194, and a budget reduction recommendations to support development of a balanced budget for fiscal year 27. All right, for our Office of Innovations and Planning, they have published the first annual report for the Greenhouse Gas Program for midstream oil and gas fuel combustion equipment, tracking company and segment progress towards the 2030 targets. You can see that online if you are interested. For our climate change program, they have been working very diligently on the landfill rule, and you will be considering that here later. And so looking forward to or appreciating all of the work that division staff have done on that. For stationary sources, for the ERC program or emission reduction credit program, the division will present proposed revisions to Reg 3, Part A, Section 5, which is the ERC section of that regulation in the upcoming November hearing. So you may have already read a little bit about that, but we'll be seeing more about that the next couple days. For mobile sources, our Clean Fleet Enterprise Clean Vehicle and Technology portfolio closed its most recent grant application round at the end of October. Staff received 38 total applications, which is 2 more than the last round, for 168 ZEV or NZEV vehicles requested and $22.5 million plus in total funding requested. The program continues to receive strong interest, even with the federal incentives and programs ending. All right, our community and partnership program has been holding a number of public meetings. There will be some potential changes to Regulation 27 meetings at the direction of the Commission. The division is planning to propose updates that would increase transparency for the state's emissions crediting and tracking system for GIM 1 and 2 facilities, harmonize requirements between GIM 1 and GIM 2 facilities, and create a state-managed fund for GIM 1 and 2 facilities as well as midstream facilities. Public meetings will take place in November, December, and January. Also, we have published the annual report, midstream segment information report on Tuesday, October 28th, and held a public information session on that report on Monday, November 17th. And the last update for you related to ECMC is the Energy and Carbon Management Commission, our sister agency. We'll have a hearing from November 19th through 21st for the Sunlight/Long Drilling Plan, which is located approximately 3,200 feet from the Aurora Reservoir. This drilling plan has strong public opposition. CDPHE conducted a consultation with the operator and determined that the plan met all of CDPHE's concerns. CDPHE's communications and health programs are monitoring the situation No health or air quality concerns have been received by CDPHE, but we remain ready to respond to any concerns as appropriate. And that is the end of our updates for this month.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Of course.
We'll go to our Attorney General report. Robin
We have a
and/or
couple of
Corey.
hands. Commissioner
Oh, my.
Slutsky, there are a couple of hands up.
I
Do you want me
see,
to
I
answer
see.
questions?
Yeah, this would be a good time to do that.
Okay.
Martha, go ahead.
Thank you. I have, thanks for the report. I've got a couple of questions. I don't know if you would know this because this is probably more the solid waste level. One, I appreciate hearing about other environmental and public health issues at the department. Maybe for obvious reasons, I am particularly interested in those kind of things. But on the closed landfill remediation grant program, do you know if any of that money might be going toward air quality issues?
That I don't know, but I can work to find that out.
Okay, that's just, I wasn't sure that you would know that or not.
Okay.
But I thought I would ask. And
Michael put
then,
his hand up. Maybe he knows.
oh, Michael, do you know?
Oh, look. All right. Able to unmute. So it's hard to know. And part of the reason is because the legislation hasn't been put out yet. So it's something where we haven't seen any draft text, just kind of rumors around, what could potentially be a future bill. So we can circle back maybe when we have more information, but right now, all we know is we're talking about creating a fund to support this.
Okay, okay, thank you. And then secondly, maybe you mentioned this and I missed it. And this is the staff invited to the COP 30. Is that still going to happen?
We did have staff that were invited to COP 30, and unfortunately, we were not able to send everyone that we had hoped to send. So that was a bit of a disappointment, but we were incredibly honored to have been invited and hoping and wishing for everything at COP 30 to go very well.
Yeah.
I would also add there were some staff from the governor's office who did go out. Mark Solberg went out, as well as Dominique Gomez from the Colorado Energy Office. They were out there a couple of weeks ago, so we did
Went to
have a Colorado presence.
Yeah,
That's
they went
good.
to a pre-COP event.
I hope they touted some of the good things that the division has done. So, all right, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reader.
And just a really quick question. Thanks for the report. The reference to the $13.5 million fee increase, just to refresh my memory, I know last year we did, I don't remember the exact number, but I'll say $5 or $6 million fee increase for the sake of argument. Is this 13 on top of that to make it 18 total, or is this going from the 5 or 6 up to 13?
So, and Michael, if you have additional detail here, I'm happy to hear it. Last year, we were able to get some funding again from the general fund, and so we didn't need to ask for the full amount that we needed last year, and we would expect that next year, as we continue to draw down some funds, that we will probably actually have to come back again next year for money on top of this $13.5 million. But Michael, if you want to clarify how this relates to last year's request.
No, that's right. It's additional, Commissioner Reader. As you recall, part of this funding gap was a result of some of the changes that had very significant growth for us. So we did have to, knowing that we received, I think it was close to $50 million from the legislature, in 2021 or 2022. We did know we were going to have to increase fees to kind of cover the costs, and we did have a general fund increase. And so we've been working through that. I believe next year will be the last round to kind of get us on par with, full sustainability with the division.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate the response.
We have begun stakeholder outreach on those fees and talking about what that plan will look like over the next couple of years.
Thank you all. Any other questions? Well, for our Attorney General's report, I see Corey Holler there. with his camera on, so I'm assuming, Corey, you're in charge.
That's right, Commissioner Slutsky. Nothing gets by you. I have the honor this month of presenting your Attorney General's report. It'll be fairly brief for you all, trying to keep things moving. A couple updates on matters that we've already have been ongoing for a while. First one is that we've got a briefing schedule set in Green Latino's appeal of the district court decision in your favor on the portions of Reg 3 incorporating enhanced modeling and monitoring requirements for stationary sources and DICs. As the rulemaking you conducted pursuant to the EJ Act. We anticipate briefing being done in that case in late March. And then, as you know, the vagaries of appellate timing will get an oral argument and then a decision at some point. So still a long way to go in that case. Briefing is underway and nearly complete on some motions to dismiss that have been filed in the federal district court challenge to your Regulation 28, imposing benchmarking and building performance standards for certain large commercial buildings. We anticipate briefing there to be done here in the next week or so. And then again, we'll await a decision from the court before that case moves forward. The other matter is one that's not necessarily involving a Colorado legal challenge, but thought you'd be interested to know that a California federal court recently enjoined California's Clean Truck Partnership, but avoided the issues relating to EPA's the congressional nullification of California's waivers under the Clean Air Act. You may recall or may know that Colorado has joined a challenge to EPA's action on those waivers, and that case is also in the very early phases. But those California rules based on those waivers form the basis for most of your clean truck rule, the heavy duty low NOx rule, and the large entity reporting rule. So we'll see where that goes. That's all we have for you this month. Any questions for us? Great. Thank you, commissioners. Commissioner Slutsky, I think you're still on.
No, I'm totally here. I did introduce you, Jeremy, but it was just for my own edification. Commissioner Administrator Jeremy Murray.
Thank you, Chair Slutsky. Good evening, commissioners. I'll give you a very quick update on a couple of items. The first is our draft agenda for December. Next month, we have a few briefings for you all. One on the current permitting fees and permitting timelines that will be given from the division. Another briefing on the greenhouse gas inventory from our climate team. And they're going to report out on the metrics developed by the Climate Equity Framework Advisory Committee. And we have a third briefing on the GEM 2, which is our manufacturing sector greenhouse gas emission standards rule, and the progress of that. We expect a request for GEM 2 coming next spring. And then we will also have a few other items on our agenda for December. The first one is a request for rulemaking hearing for the toxic air contaminants rulemaking, setting control strategies for those 5 priority PTACs. And then we will also have the continuation of our Regulation 31 landfill methane rulemaking. You all have an agenda item for this meeting related to that, to reopen the record, that you will address tomorrow. And I'll also note there are 2 meetings in December related to Title V permits that are being drafted right now. And we'll have 2 public comment hearings to address both of those Title V permits, hear from the public. Commissioner Thomas has agreed to be the hearing officer for that, so appreciate that time investment, Commissioner Thomas. And those are all of my updates.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. So this takes us to public comment, and to run that part of the hearing, I'm going to pass this over to Commissioner Reeder, who is the hearing chair for our state implementation plan hearing tomorrow, and this will begin that hearing. So, Curtis, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening, I guess, depending on how you want to say the time of day is in terms of the daylight. Welcome to the public comment session. Jeremy, if you could go ahead and put the names up on the screen, we can get headed towards that. Members of the public will have 2 minutes to speak, and we will offer 3 minutes to public officials. The public is invited to provide oral comment on the rulemaking for the ozone state implementation plan and associated regulations, as well as on any other air pollution issue of your choosing, whether it's on our agenda or not. The Commission may not take action on issues discussed during the general public comment period. Such matters may be scheduled for further discussion or action at a later date. Spoken comments provided during this time and written comments submitted in advance are also incorporated into the rulemaking record and may be referenced during the hearings in the coming days. The session may end early if all commenters that are registered in attendance have had an opportunity to speak. I will call the names in the order shown on the screen. You may then unmute to speak if you're on Zoom, or if you're on by phone, press *6. If you have any technical difficulties, please send a chat to Jenny or raise your hand by using the raise hand function or by pushing *9 if you're on the phone. Again, in the interest of time, ask everyone to be respectful of all the other commenters and stay on time. As I said, each person will receive two minutes, but we will give our public officials 3 minutes. So again, please stay on schedule so that we can accommodate everyone who signed up to speak. And so with that, we will now start with Renee Chacon. And Ms. Chacon, if you are on, please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Feel free to be. I can hear you. You sound great. Go ahead.
Thank you. Sorry for any background noise. Clase automático, meto clase automática, automático, clase automático, tonantinklali, clase automática, abuelitos, abuelitas, and all the ones that came before, and all the little ones to come. We live on the land of the Ute, the Cheyenne, the Arapaho, the Shoshone, the Kiowa, the Comanche, the Inde, the Dene, the Chicano, and 48 tribes that still live in trouble through here. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Today I'm commenting on a rulemaking request that will be made in February for a pay-to-pollute fund for Colorado's largest greenhouse gas emitters. I am a city councilor in Commerce City, where the Suncor oil refinery pollutes my community's air and my family, their health, and their quality of life. I'm also a member of CEPHE's Environmental Justice Action Task Force. This fund will allow Colorado's largest industrial facilities to pay a fee instead of meeting the required greenhouse gas emissions and reduction goals. It will allow Suncor to continue to emit greenhouse gases and the toxic air pollutants in my community poisoning our air. I and many other members of the Commerce City community have been against the idea of this pay-to-pollute fund since it was first proposed in 2023. Creating a fund plays an insensitive numbers game. While people in Commerce City die of cancer, asthma, heart disease, linked to the overwhelming burden of air pollution we experience, these are my family and my community. Would you feel comfortable trading your loved ones' lives for a fund? There is no way to account for the lives lost to illness. There is no way to pay for the trauma a child experiences from an asthma attack. And there is no way to compensate my community for being sacrificed to Suncor's business needs. We need Suncor to reduce its pollution immediately, locally, on site. We also need the division to do the work to engage our community. They have not consulted with me or other members of the Environmental Justice Action Task Force on their fund proposal, especially from disproportionately impacted communities. They did not reach out to all the community groups who participated in the 2023 Gen 2 rulemaking, and many of us heard through word of mouth that this stakeholder process was starting. This fund is unacceptable. It sets a precedence that if you're a big enough company, you can just pay a small fine instead of complying with the law that leaves our community at risk of dying. This commission should reject the proposal for a fund, and I thank you for hearing me. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chacon. If Tim Barnes or PT Wood are on, please let us know. But since we think you're not online at the moment, let's go ahead with Nina Waters. Ms. Waters.
Good afternoon. Can you guys hear me all right?
You sound great.
Awesome. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I am Commissioner Nina Waters, and I am lucky to serve over 31,000 constituents who call Summit County home. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen tonight. And I want you to know that people all over the state support this commission in taking strong action to reduce both ozone and methane pollution. Summit County's location in the mountains means we live in a place that is supposed to be the respite from extreme heat so many others are experiencing around the state and the country. However, our summers are much hotter and longer than our historical averages. My 14-year-old husky can attest to that explicitly. But in all seriousness, we have seen wildfires run rampant and the fire season get longer. The most recent Colorado wildfire started just 2 weeks ago on November 6th. Summit County works with our nonprofit conservation organizations to assist residents and businesses in reducing their impacts to the environment. We offer discounts on solar panel installations, we provide zero waste solutions, and are doing our best to make our buildings and our grid cleaner. We are doing our part. And so I ask that this commission do its part to reduce emissions of greenhouse gases. I ask you to support strong measures for the ozone SIP. This means meeting statutory targets for reductions in nitrogen oxide emissions. It means ensuring an accurate, dependable inventory of emissions from oil and gas production. And it means working beyond this week's rulemaking to make real inroads into Colorado's ozone problem. There are many proposals for ozone reductions on the table that still have not been adopted into our SIP. Second, I ask that this commission to adopt strong Regulation 7 rule to reduce methane emissions from oil and gas facilities. Methane is a truly devastating greenhouse gas, and we cannot afford to have it flooding into our atmosphere. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for working so hard to ensure a safer climate for all Coloradans. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Waters. Next up is Sabrina Trask, who is a commissioner over at ECMC.
Can you guys
Ms.
hear me
Trask?
okay?
We can. We can see you. There you are.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm not a commissioner at ECMC.
Okay, sorry.
Just wanted to make that clear. Good evening, commissioners, and thank you for the opportunity to provide comment on this important rulemaking. My name is Sabrina Trask, and I manage the Cumulative Impacts and Energy Transition Unit at the Colorado Energy and Carbon Management Commission, or ECMC for short. I am representing ECMC with this public comment. While ECMC is not a party to this rulemaking, I want to express ECMC's support of APCD's draft rule revisions pertaining to Reg 7's NOx intensity program and provide some clarity on our ongoing collaborative initiatives with APCD staff around rule alignment and data sharing. ECMC's historic mission change rulemaking in 2020 resulted in the Commission's adoption of rules requiring operators to provide emission estimates as part of ECMC's permitting process. ECMC's Cumulative Impacts team has been collaborating with APCD staff for the past few years to compare these emissions estimates with the actual emissions reported by oil and gas operators into APCD's on-GARE system. Last fall, ECMC adopted additional new cumulative impacts and enhanced systems and practices rules that align with AQCC's greenhouse gas and NOx intensity programs. These new ECMC rules require operators to report their greenhouse gas and NOx intensity status when seeking new oil and gas permits. For those operators seeking new permits in the ozone non-attainment area, if the operator has exceeded their NOx target, the permit may either be denied or approved with conditions, limiting operations to outside the May through September ozone season and requiring additional emissions reduction measures. Non-drilling or production-only operators are also required to submit to ECMC an annual check-in to confirm the operator is in compliance with their Reg 7 NOx intensity target. If an operator is not in compliance, ECMC will require they take action to reduce their NOx, which may result in the shutting in or the plugging of wells. ECMC's Cumulative Impacts team collaborates with APCD staff to implement these parallel NOx intensity rules to better understand how upstream oil and gas contributes to air quality in the ozone non-attainment area, and also how best to help industry reduce adverse impacts. Throughout the implementation of ECMC's rules, both during our mission change and again last year with the new CIESP rules, APCD staff have been responsive to ECMC's questions and data requests and have provided transparency about how AQCC's Reg 7 complements ECMC's work to regulate oil and gas in a manner that is protective of public health, safety, welfare, the environment, and wildlife resources. Additionally, in the past year, an ECMC APCD data sharing working group was established through which ECMC's cumulative impacts team has been able to work directly with APCD's OnGare team. The goals of this working group are twofold: to increase accessibility and sharing of public data between divisions, and to recommend digital and other solutions to integrate or automate data sharing between APCD's OnGare database and ECMC's COGIS database. The working group has made significant improvements in data sharing and communication between both agencies' staffs and has provided input on the forthcoming technical upgrades planned for both systems. This ongoing work provides opportunities for cross-pollination of ideas that will continue to improve both agencies' systems and workflows, both independently and combined. In light of our ongoing collaboration with APCD staff to advance future data synergy between ECMC's and APCD's data systems and processes, and having just completed legislatively mandated audits of both of our systems, ECMC would not favor any further performance analysis of OnGare as proposed by some parties to this rulemaking. We find APCD's OnGare system and the team that manages it to be primed for any necessary upgrades through the collaboration currently in place with ECMC and any resulting actions required by the Office of the State Auditor. Thank you again for this opportunity to provide public comment this evening, and apologies to you, commissioners, and everyone else on this call for going way over time. ECMC looks forward to continuing our collaboration with APCD staff in both rule alignment and data sharing where AQCC's rulemaking provides such opportunities. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Ms. Trask. Next up, moving now to the public commenters, those who are already online. Deborah Mullen. Ms. Mullen, go ahead. There you are. We can see you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Hello, my name is Deborah Mullen. I grew up in the Texas Permian Basin, an oil-producing region. Both my parents worked in the oil and gas industry. I have a degree in bioengineering, have worked as a medical imaging engineer, and have had a 22-year career teaching high school chemistry and biology. Thank you for your efforts in keeping Colorado clean and healthy for our growing population. The 25% reduction in greenhouse gases that our oil and gas industry has achieved is a big win. However, we live in a complex environment. Change one variable or input a stress, and there are many natural systems in place to bring organisms and ecosystems back into equilibrium. We are fooling ourselves if we believe that human activities and industry are the primary drivers of the environmental changes on our planet. Our planet has had dramatic changes in climate, ozone and CO2 levels, ecosystems, and even extinction level events long before humans began using oil and gas. These changes are cyclic and are often due to stresses coming from outside the Earth system, primarily from the sun, which we cannot control. Also, it is a fallacy to believe that increasing CO2 and other greenhouse gases will only drive temperatures ever higher. It would be unfair to blame one industry for all the factors that affect our air quality. Forest fires in other states have had a much greater impact on Colorado's air quality than the oil and gas production. We need diversified energy, and oil and gas is the most reliable energy we have to date. It is time to use a common sense approach and back off on over-regulating an industry that has gone the extra mile in innovation of our towards ensuring minimal impacts to our environment. We need to help the backbone of our Colorado economy and remember all the essential petroleum-based products it supplies. Thank you. Also, my husband, Mark Mullen, is online and will be speaking from my Zoom call during his time allotted.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Mullen. Next up is Gary Bean. Mr. Bean, you can unmute yourself and go ahead if you're ready.
Good evening. My name is Gary Bean. I'm a retired pharmacy technician as well as an over-the-road truck driver. I have spent over 20 years in each of these fields. My pharmacy was learned at Fitzsimmons Army Medical Center while serving in the Colorado Army National Guard. I was once called up to support the 13th EVAC hospital during Desert Storm, Desert Shield. I served as the unit's supply sergeant, and I'm currently retired, living on Social Security and the VA 90% disability. As a truck driver, I've seen the prices of fuel being imported cost a lot greater than when America was producing its own oil and using it. Now, as a Vietnam veteran of foreign wars, I see the impact of the cost of the fuel development rising. The cost of living for my fellow veterans, families, and fellow American citizens are being felt. I feel that the oil and gas is being unfairly nickeled and dimed for fees and regulations that keep rising, unreached and trivial regulations, when there are other industries that can share their regulation. These would include the dog food company and other manufacturing, construction sites, medical firms like the schools, the hospitals, the contramariums, where people get recycled. This all produced by products that increase the poor air quality and odors that are foul in our breathing air. I hope you can take my situation, knowing that other seniors are in the same situation that I am in. That all your overregulation and fees keep raising the costs that really don't have to be in our budgets as seniors and veterans. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bean. Next up is Christopher Hill. Mr. Hill, are you on?
I'm here.
Perfect. There you go. I can see you and hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Chris Hill here. I grew up in just north of Denver, Westminster, where I went to Northland High School, where I met my wife, or future wife. We both attended School of Mines, getting degrees in 2005, chemical engineering. And we've since pursued careers as engineers in oil and gas. We cherish the community we live in, and we're proud parents of children who are 13 and under, and they're enthusiastically involved in competitive soccer and dance. So throughout my career, I've served in oil and gas companies in roles related to air quality and facilities engineering. My work is consistently focused on complying with regulations while optimizing production. Over the last 2 decades, I've observed a significant rise in compliance costs, compelling companies to make difficult decisions about continuing operations in Colorado. I've particularly noted shifts in capital investments away from the DJ Basin as funds have been redirected to more cost-effective regions across the country. Additionally, this trend has led to a reduction in the number of companies operating in the state, significantly impacting my job search as I find myself struggling to secure employment in an increasingly sparse industry landscape. The state is missing out on the tax benefit from my unemployment status. My family is committed to maintaining a healthy lifestyle, which includes regular exercise, clean eating, and I believe clean air is an essential part of that lifestyle. With my expertise in air permitting and compliance, I understand the challenges associated with regulating air in Colorado. Despite these complexities, I support a balanced regulatory approach that promotes sustainability of the oil and gas industry without compelling businesses to leave Colorado. I urge the committee to consider this perspective carefully when voting on policies, as it reflects both the environmental and economic realities facing our state. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Hill. Next up is Bill Hall.
Curtis, I want to flag that PT Wood has joined.
Okay. We will loop back up. Thank you for pointing that out, Jeremy. We'll go back up and catch up to PT Wood. You may unmute yourself and begin your comments when you're ready.
Thank you. And I apologize for getting a little late this evening. My meeting ran late. I just wanted to reiterate my comments from earlier in the year around the Regulation 31 rules and the potential devastating impacts that could have on our county landfill. We're trying really hard to do the right thing through waste diversion, recycling, composting, and minimizing things that are going into our landfill. The Regulation 31 rules, as they are, could potentially have a pretty devastating impact financially on our ability to do those really thoughtful carbon reducing programs that we're working on. So I hope when you discuss those rules, you take that into consideration and help local governments really do what impacts carbon reduction effectively. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Now going back down to the list, Bill Hall. Mr. Hall, if you're available, you can unmute and turn your camera on and begin your comments. Bill Hall, are you still on?
Okay, can you hear me now?
There you go. I can hear you now.
Okay, very good. I want to thank you for giving me the public opportunity to speak regarding air quality regulations. My name is Bill Hall. I'm a third generation Colorado native and have lived in Weld County most of my life. I currently sell and manage real estate in Northern Colorado. I was previously owner and manager of 2 oil and gas companies in Greeley, drilling over 40 wells. My income is generated by both real estate and oil and gas royalties. I've been involved in the Greeley Stampede for 50 years and was recently inducted in the Stampede Hall of Fame. I've noticed a sharp decrease in the number of oil companies in Colorado. Regulation has taken Colorado oil production from being one of the top producers in the United States to about 10th in production. This reduction hurts all of Colorado. The small farmer, royalty owner, retail stores, real estate market, taxes collected on production, property taxes paid to support schools and tax to the state of Colorado. The last I checked, we need to get the revenue back to pay off our state's debt. I checked our air quality from our 2020 or from your 2024 numbers in a recent report, and I'm hoping I'm doing this accurately. But the CO2 produced by oil companies and found the following: reduction in particulates of these companies. Chevron is reduced down to 4603, Civitas was 5923, and DCP was reduced down to 24763. These reductions exceeded the state's requirements. The oil companies have worked tirelessly to be good stewards of clean air. The oil and gas industry does not need more regulation from our state government. The permitting process has grown to be ridiculously slow, expensive, and cumbersome. The time has come to not hinder the industry and allow our citizens, schools, and state government to prosper from more oil and gas production. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hall. Next up is David Reitz. Reitz or Reitz? I'm not sure. I'm sure he'll correct me.
It's right. So
Reitz, okay. Go ahead.
my name is David Reitz. I was born in Greeley, Colorado in 1953. Shortly after I was born, my father accepted the commission as a Marine Corps officer, and the rest of my 18 years of life was spent as a military brat before my father decided to return to Colorado after his retirement from the Marine Corps. I too spent several years in the Marine Corps and then went to college at CSU and UNC. It was at UNC that I first met my wife, Lois Kawakami, and we married in 1975. Lois grew up on a family farm that is located just south of Platteville, Colorado. Lois's parents' family farm was fortunate to have both water and mineral rights on it. As I quickly learned, it was the oil and gas royalties that saved her family farm from going bankrupt during the years after Lois's father was stricken with cancer. Without those royalties, the bank would have owned the farm rather than the Kawakamis. Lois's family situation was not unique. Many of our neighbors' farms are also saved financially thanks to oil and gas revenues. I want to ask the members of the commission for your support of the oil and gas industry that rural Colorado depends on. Our family has lived on Lois's family farm for the past 33 years, and our children attended schools in Platteville and Gilchrist, where the oil and gas industry has historically paid about 2/3 of our school district's annual taxes. Having sat on our school board, I can tell you that without oil and gas revenues and political support from the industry, we would not have been able to pass the last 4 bond issues in our district. We all appreciate having clean air and water in Colorado, and I thank the commission for its continued efforts in that regard. However, I'd also ask the commission to please keep a balanced approach in mind as you make these air quality regulations. By a balanced approach, I hope that the commission will recognize that there are other industries and other factors that contribute to much of Colorado's air pollution problems. My 26-year career as an alcohol beverage industry regulator for the Department of Revenue taught me that the regulations we promulgate should balance both public safety and common sense in their applications for the industries that we regulate. I thank you for your opportunity to give me to speak tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wrights. Next up is Mark Molen. Mr.
Hi.
Molen,
Hi.
there you go.
My name's Mark Molen. I was born and raised in Denver. I have been in the environmental business for over 30 years. After graduating with a degree in chemistry, I got a job in the oil and gas service company and helped with jobs in the oil field. The oil and gas industry is an extremely important industry in Colorado. It pays many of my colleagues, and their families depend on the income. Over my life, I've seen the regulatory agencies grow. I've been close personal friends with previous air quality control administrators working with automobile emissions. Clean air is very important. We all want it and need it. And over my lifetime, our air quality has improved dramatically. However, there is a point at which there are diminishing returns for the additional regulations. I think we are entering this phase of having enough regulation without getting a measurable better environment. By applying stricter regulatory controls over fewer and fewer emissions does not necessarily improve the quality of the environment. Generally, the more the regulations and information, the more employees are needed at CDPHE simply to manage data. The regulatory agency grows, the state budget increases, and it never seems to stop or slow down. Having had an entire career devoted to protecting the environment, I urge you to reconsider additional regulations, especially the newest set of increases in constituent measurement and the emissions reductions. This is for the sake of the industry without compromising environmental quality. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Molen. Next up is Thomas Hager. Mr. Hager, if you're on.
Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Tom Hager. I moved to Colorado in 1973 after earning an electrical engineering degree at the University of Wisconsin and spent over 30 years at Hewlett-Packard here in Loveland. I came here for the outdoors, for the fishing, for the cycling, skiing, hunting, and throughout my career, I've worked hard to protect it. I led a landmark project back a couple dozen years ago to eliminate CFCs from HP's manufacturing processes when HP was the largest user of CFCs in Colorado, and by developing a unique aqueous process that eliminated those. From my experience, successful projects require a clear, stable definition, documented goals, and multiple checkpoints to monitor progress and issues. I am aware the oil and gas industry has met their goals in reducing greenhouse gases and ozone to date. As Colorado considers expanding ozone precursor tracking to hundreds of pollutants, I urge a focus on meaningful source-specific data. We need to know which regions of the state and which sources, cars, small businesses, tourism, mining, forest fires, etc., are the clear drivers of ozone levels. Only with meaningful source-specific data can we determine which projects will truly make a difference. This is not solely an oil and gas issue. It will require a collective effort across multiple sectors. but all stakeholders need reliable data to begin. I urge you to provide clear, actionable information on the sources, the industries, and the regions of the state so that those responsible can commit to changes that matter. With stable goals and meaningful data, we can move beyond assumptions and take practical steps to reduce Colorado's brown cloud and protect the environment we all value. Thank you so much for your hard work and your willingness to hear concerns from Coloradoans like me.
Thank you, Mr. Hager. Next up is Adam Huntley. Mr. Huntley, if you could go ahead and unmute.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Excellent. Hello, my name is Adam Huntley. I'm a third generation Colorado native. I'd like to start out by saying thank you to the AQCC for what you've done in the past and try to keep regulations realistic and costs down. I implore the AQCC in the up and coming sessions on regulations and fees to do the due diligence on realistic time frames for the completion of reduction of percentages of greenhouse emissions along with the fees associated. According to my research, Colorado as a whole is leading the pace for the reduction of greenhouse emissions, and this is led by the oil and gas industry. Adding fees that are not transparent and not realistic is not a good business practice, and not a sustainable business model that I know of. Please do a deep dive into any increased rules or fees that others would ask for. I've seen oil and gas create infrastructure in a livable time period under current regulations and fees, yet other industries take 10 times as long. I've been watching this happen for the last decade in Colorado. Most of the new fees and regulations have not been thoroughly thought out. The full impact of all people, business owners, consumers, etc. If you were to ask for a blank checkbook to be filled out with sums not yet disclosed and dates not given when this is going to be cashed, is that a common ask for anyone? I know you as the board as a whole is not going to let any such reckless spending or thoughts happen. Please take your time on any further fees or regulations and vet them logically with verifiable data, the pros and cons of said actions before submittal to the board, as not to waste time and money. Thank you for your service and your time on these issues and allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Huntley. Next up is Andy Peterson.
Greetings, commissioners. Thank you for your service on the AQCC and for caring about our air quality in Colorado. I'm Andy Peterson, a small business owner and resident of Colorado for many decades. During that time, I've seen many significant changes in the oil industry, some driven by regulatory agencies and some because they're just good business practice. Starting as far back as the 70s and 80s, the oil business, along with most other industries, needed to make big changes in their operating practices, which they did, and the air quality of our state has improved significantly as a result. It's important to note that initially, the industry was spending relatively small amounts of money to make large changes in their operating practices, and this resulted in corresponding large changes in emissions. However, as time has passed, the industry has been forced to spend larger and larger amounts of money to make smaller and smaller incremental improvements. The increased regulations from recent rulemakings have led to lots more cost and more layers of red tape, but they no longer result in meaningful emissions reductions. Please keep this in mind, that the oil and gas industry has already made significant strides in lowering their air emissions, and it's unfair and unsustainable to continue to force this important economic segment to spend more and more money to make less and less progress on reducing emissions. Also, please keep in mind that the cost of satisfying these regulations does get passed on to consumers. The lowest socioeconomic classes, those people that the regulations are intended to help the most, actually get hurt the most, because they're the people least able to bear the increased cost of these regulations.
I urge you to keep my comments in mind and pass realistic regulations that don't hurt the consumer and don't excessively burden the oil and gas industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Next up is Omer Iroglu, and I'm sure he's going to correct my pronunciation of that. Omer, are you available?
Your pronunciation was pretty good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. Hello, my name is Omar Iroglu. I'm a small business owner from Thornton, Colorado. First, I would like to thank the Commission for giving me the opportunity to speak today and commend you for the objective decision to do a study and apply the facts found. When I first moved to Colorado 23 years ago from New York City, I loved all the open space, the nature preservation, and immediately noticed how clean the air was compared to New York. Seeing rigs in the field didn't give me an impression of a problem. It was the symbol of the American way. Environment is important to all of us, and we all want clean air. Just like everything else in life, we have to find the balance in how we use and manage our energy sources efficiently, economically, smart, and of course, as clean as possible. Any regulation or its monitoring methods should be proven to work and expect to produce a positive result. With all the increasing of fees on top of it, it's all the more reason to know exactly what we're going to monitor, how we're going to monitor, and what are we planning to achieve by throwing all this money at something. It's not fair to the businesses and not in the interest of the public to not know what pollutants will be monitored. Every time there's a new regulation passed, the only result I notice is the higher prices in my utility bills and at the gas station. Low energy prices are good for the economy in general. Let's not add even more to the cost of energy production. Please don't pass these new regulations without knowing what to monitor, how to monitor them. Cost of living has increased too much in Colorado, and this will eventually only be more burden for the lowest income Coloradans. That's all I have today. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Iroglu. Next up is Robert Zimmerman.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead, Mr. Zimmerman.
My name is Rob Zimmerman. I'm a Colorado native, went to Northland High School and graduated from Colorado School of Mines with a degree in chemical engineering. I've worked for the Western Sugar Cooperative for over 35 years and live in Windsor. My 4 daughters and 4 son-in-laws all went to the Colorado School of Mines and graduated with engineering degrees and are working in the Denver area in such fields as aerospace, oil and gas, electrical engineering, and civil engineering. As you can see, we're a technically oriented family that looks for practical solutions to complex problems. We are also an outdoor family and enjoy vacationing in Pagosa Springs and Steamboat Springs each year, where we hike, collect rocks, and play pickleball. As a native, I was in Denver in the 70s and can remember heading towards downtown and seeing the infamous brown cloud. The state of Colorado has come a long ways in improving air quality since then. And as an engineer, I appreciate the practical solutions such as eliminating leaded gasoline and requiring catalytic converters. We should continue to try and improve air quality, but these improvements must be practical and reasonable. The availability of low-cost energy is critical to everyone's standard of living. The freedom to jump in your car and drive to the mountains cannot be underestimated. I can also remember the long gas lines and rationing during the 1970s and hope to never see that again. Increasing regulations and monitoring of industry without reasonable expectations of air quality improvements will be detrimental to the state of Colorado. The cost of monitoring trace gases will outweigh the benefits of the monitoring. The energy to build, operate, and test for the trace compounds will cause more pollution than it will save. I urge the Commission to pass reasonable standards that will actually improve air quality based on practical and sound science. This will provide the citizens of Colorado with the best air quality while keeping energy costs low and ensuring the continuation of the freedoms we currently enjoy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Zimmerman. I want to do a quick check with my fellow commissioners. We've been going for an hour and a half. I think we have about 30 more minutes based on another 15 or 16. So is everyone okay pushing through without a break? Okay, I'm seeing head nods. Okay, we'll keep going then. Next up is Mike Edwards. Mr. Edwards.
Hello, Commissioners. Hello, my name is Mike Edwards. I retired and moved to Colorado about 19 years ago to be near my son, daughter, and grandkids. I spent 27 years in the oil business. We live in the new District 8 in Weld County. About 16 years ago, my son decided to open a small restaurant in Johnstown where we live. I worked with him for over a year during construction to get it started. The restaurant business works on small margins, and I've seen the negative effects of government's large wage increases over the last 13 years. We hired mostly moms and teenagers who are part-time workers. It has been difficult just to survive due to rising costs. As an example, the increase in minimum wage was $1.09 in 2024. As a result of these wage increases, the increasing regulations, we decided to sell our business in 2024. Government does not understand how seemingly good regulations impact small businesses. I know you're trying to balance EPA standards without harming our state, but please to continue to think about impacts potential rules would have on businesses. If we focus all the ozone strategy solely on the oil and gas industry, the oil and gas industry has continued to decrease emissions on agreed-to plan each year. Increasing monitored emissions by fourfold would add cost and complexities. New rules should be researched and evidence-based, showing they will be effective. Additional regulations on the oil and gas industry in Colorado will end up increasing costs for all small businesses, which will increase costs to all of us without benefiting air quality. I urge you to pass regulations that will be cost-effective to the oil and gas industry. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Edwards. Next up is Quentin Whedon.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Quentin Whedon, and I've lived in Colorado since my family moved here in the late 70s. I grew up in Estes Park and have a love for the amazing outdoors we enjoy here. I earned a business degree from CU Boulder and later my MBA from Regis University in Denver. And I've had a great career working for several large global corporations like IBM, and I'm now a small business owner of a trucking company employing 6 people here in Colorado. I can recall the worst of the infamous brown cloud that often hung over Denver, especially on cold winter days in the 70s and 80s. So I can really appreciate and respect how far we have come with industrial innovation, technology, and reasonable public policy that's led to cleaner air here in Colorado. The work of policy leaders like yourselves, along with the private sector, including the oil and gas industry, have made a positive impact on ozone levels in the atmosphere. While more can be done, I urge caution on what additional steps should be taken in isolation or as an extension at this time. So as both a citizen and a business owner, I'm always trying to understand and gain clarity on fundamental and common sense questions such as, what is the clear and specific problem statement that new or extended policies regulating ozone particulates is seeking to address, right? What does the science show regarding a direct cause and effect between any specific state level policy or the regulated actions by the oil and gas industry and the resulting health of ozone particulates in the atmosphere? And lastly, I'm always looking to understand what are the known or anticipated economic trade-offs we can expect to see from further expansion or extension of the current policies. So with that, just want to say that I appreciate you taking these questions into consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Whedon. Next up is Ken Ponsolo. Hopefully I'm close on that.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
All right. Good evening. My name is Ken Ponslow. I started my career as a police officer in the mid-70s. At that time, if I wanted to get a drunk driving or a drug arrest, I would go out to an oil well site at shift change, and I could probably arrest one of the workers leaving the site. The downside of it is when I went to make the arrest or went out on site on an emergency call, it was filthy. When I left the site, I needed to wash my car and clean my uniform. Over the years, I saw oil field sites and oil field companies make dramatic changes in how they ran their business, both in personnel and in process. At the end of my career, oil field workers were very professional, and the oil field companies held their personnel to very high standards in both conduct and in training. The last time I visited an oil well site, they were as clean as my garage, and I do keep a very clean garage and well organized. In fact, one site that I visited placed 4x8 sheets of plywood on the ground and covered them with a rubber membrane to catch any of the spills over the entire site. I saw information that stated over the past several years, the amount of ozone precursors has fallen while the production of oil and gas has increased. In my interactions with the oil and gas executives as a police executive, I found them very interested in working with communities within governmental regulatory environment and in protecting our environment. I have several questions about the new regulations. First, what will these new regulations cost? Second, is there any research demonstrating these new regulations will accomplish what we hope they will? And third, I understand the new regulation will add an additional 200 precursors to monitor. Is there any research to show that these precursors affect the ozone levels? Now that I and my wife are living on fixed incomes, additional costs generated by overregulation will really affect us. I appreciate the work that you all do for the citizens of Colorado, and I ask that you carefully consider these new regulations.
Thank you, Mr. Ponsalo.
Thank you.
Next up is Clifford Tygeson.
Yeah, that's very good. It's excellent.
Go ahead.
Turn on the video. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you just fine.
All right. My name is Cliff Tygeson. I live in an unincorporated area of Boulder County. And basically, I earn my income from businesses I own in the state of Alaska. Just point this out because Alaska is a fun place to do business because the state works hard to reduce red tape and establish rules and regulations that promote business. And I would like to think, and I do think this, that Colorado is trying to do the same. Now, regarding the oil and gas business itself, we all know the numbers, but let's point them out. More than 300,000 people work in the industry. This is almost 8% of the state's workforce, and included are not included, actually, are indirect jobs related to the industry. Our state receives $1.9 billion in revenue, total revenue from the industry, which is 11% of our gross state revenue. Now, most of this money supports local schools and local governmental agencies, infrastructure, and other worthy endeavors. The oil and gas industry cannot economically meet the new standards as we see them proposed. I should note that in 2024, Governor Polis himself wrote to the federal EPA that related his fear that Colorado could not meet the federal air quality standards as proposed. If our governor was worried about this issue, then we should all be worried about the issue. Again, our oil and gas industry cannot meet this new state standards economically as proposed. If so, we will lose this industry ultimately. So what will happen to the 300,000 workers? What will replace the loss of $1.9 billion in state revenue that supports many state agencies as well as local businesses? How will we replace 11.2% of our state's income? Well, we won't.
Mr. Tygeson, please
Yes.
wrap up.
Pardon?
I said, could you please wrap up?
Oh, okay.
You're
As a
over your
long
time.
time, I will do it. As a long-time resident, I urge your commission to pass regulations to protect the citizens and our oil and gas industry that drives much of our economy. I know you've been trying. Thank you very much. Let's work together.
Thank you, Mr. Tygeson. Next up is Jesse Raybon.
Hi, good evening, commissioners. My name is Jesse Rabin, and I'm an attorney for the city of Greeley. The city's facility manager, Jason Moss, is here this evening as well, and he will be presenting public comment on behalf of the city. So therefore, I don't intend to provide comment at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is Gary Walden. Mr. Walden? I don't know if you're unmuted or I can't hear you if you're trying to speak.
I am muted.
There you go. Now okay. I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Gary Waldine. I've lived in Colorado for my entire life. My background comes from being born and raised on the family farm outside of Denver. We are a dairy farm and farm the land growing wheat and corn all of my life. I graduated from Colorado at Southern Colorado State College, served 2 years in the U.S. Army, and spent the rest of my life on the family farm and working with the airline industry until I retired. As you can see, I've spent my entire life using products from the oil and gas industry. We always use these products in great respect to the environment, as we have had to live with and respect to protect the land, water, and air quality. I love Colorado as a state and take great pride in helping keep our air quality high. I know we have regulations to keep our air quality great and safe for all of us. Regulations are a must, and I believe that the oil and gas industry has done an outstanding job of doing just that. My greatest concern is that the state is always trying to single out oil and gas and has them trying to do more than any other industries that also cause air pollution. Save our oil and gas industries from excessive regulation. I thank you all for your hard work. I ask for a fair and balanced way to help our state and by not overburdening the oil and gas industry as we rely on it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Waldine. Next up is Ron Herkstreeter.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, my name's Ron Herkstreeter. I'm a 75-year-old and a retired aircraft mechanic from Southwest Airlines. I come from 4 generations of farmers and ranchers in Colorado and Wyoming, and I still have friends that farm and ranch here in Colorado and Wyoming. Oil and gas production has been severely reduced over the years, which has hurt our economy and made it very difficult for everyone to make ends meet. We need to support our Colorado economy by continuing to support oil and gas industry that fuels our economy. We can't keep blaming our problems without considering other contributors such as Mother Nature, forest fires, wildfires, population growth, and cars. The industry is constantly updating its equipment and other technology to continue minimizing the impact it has on the ozone. Thank you, commissioners, for recognizing that effort and partnering with businesses to implement rules that are practical and reasonable. It's a fine line to balance, and as a citizen who loves this state, I appreciate the work you are doing. Colorado has some of the strictest and stringent regulations in the country. The oil and gas industry is collaborating voluntarily with the state to improve its efforts. Natural gas is the clean burning fuel which can be used for producing electricity as well as heating our homes. When you continue pointing the finger at the oil and gas industry, you must consider the ramifications of your decisions. Passing these regulations as written will destabilize Colorado economy. Our economy relies on oil and gas for jobs, projects, school funding, and access to reliable, affordable energy. We must have a balanced approach when rulemaking. As a 4th-generation Coloradoan, I urge the Commission to consider the ramifications of passing more regulations on an already overregulated industry. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Herkstreeter. Next up is Martin Sandberg.
My name is Martin Sandberg. Am I here? Yes.
Yes, you're here. We can see you. Go ahead.
Before I get started, I'd like to ask a favor of you. My friend and neighbor, Bill Hembry, tried to register, but isn't on the speakers list. Can he have some time after me?
We will, when we get to the Can you stop the time, Jeremy? When we get to the end, I'll ask if there are folks who haven't signed up who might want to speak. So if you will, we'll wait till we kind of get to the end of the folks who signed up. Then if he wants to speak, there's a good chance he'll have an opportunity.
Thank you. I've called Colorado home for over 2 decades. I'm a member of the IEEE Power Society, and we do enjoy great views from 6,500 feet up in the Front Range just west of Carter Lake, so we're certainly interested in clean air. Now, there have been significant changes since the 2019 law creating emissions targets was passed. Colorado's oil and gas industry has achieved a 50% reduction in ozone precursors. That has made little difference in obtaining the 2025 target. Therefore, it's pointless to ask the industry to do more. Indeed, the targets are now obviously impossible. So see how much the scene has changed since 2019. The world's largest podcast, hosted Dr. Richard Lindzen and Dr. William Hopper. These two dissenting climate scientists would never have been on a huge platform like this just 5 years ago. Then Ted Nordhaus published an essay, Why I Stopped Being a Climate Catastrophist. Even one of the world's largest funders of green organizations has realized that there isn't going to be a climate catastrophe. The idea that there's going to be some kind of climate catastrophe is ended, and regulations need to change to reflect this. There isn't any need to continue imposing onerous regulations on Colorado's oil and gas industry. Shutting it down completely would have never made any difference to the supposed threat of global warming anyway. Now even that illogical rationale is gone. It's time to start lifting the regulations, starting with those that do the most damage. So I would urge the Commission to determine the most damaging regulations and lift them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sandberg. Next up is Jason Moss.
All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you and see you. Go ahead, Mr. Moss.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jason Moss, City of Greeley Facilities Manager. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. I'm here to talk about possible future requirements affecting indirect sources. We understand the Regional Air Quality Council is evaluating potential indirect source rules and that it may propose rules for your adoption in the next year. The City of Greeley has major concerns about indirect source rules. We have submitted written comments describing these issues in more detail. I'll provide a quick overview tonight. We are concerned that indirect source regulations will harm our local economy. Greeley is growing fast and attracting new businesses. Greeley has several types of potential indirect sources and hopes to attract more. Some examples include the Greeley-Weld County Airport, the University of Northern Colorado, numerous warehouses, entertainment venues, and other trip attractors. One you all may be familiar with is the Greeley Stampede. These venues provide important services to our community. We are concerned that an indirect source rule will discourage or constrain access to these venues. We are also concerned that indirect source rules will affect new businesses' decision to invest in Greeley. Our community is often competing with other localities to attract business. We could lose out on investments in our economy to another area that is subject to indirect source rules. We have questions on these economic risks and are they worth it? Our understanding is that the indirect source program in California, adopted by the California South Coast Air Quality Management District, has been unsuccessful. The city believes the indirect source rules may be unnecessary and could be inconsistent with programs the city is already implementing. The city has several transportation projects in the works. We expect these projects will address traffic congestions, encourage transportation alternatives to single occupancy vehicles, and reduce the air quality and health impact of transportation. Efforts like Greeley should not be displaced by state policies. Just real quick in conclusion, given our serious concern, the city opposes an indirect source program and asks the commission to decline to adopt one if presented to you in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Moss. Did I skip over Patrick Moore? I'm sorry if I did that. Patrick Moore, are you here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
I apologize. I can't get my video to work. I was on a Zoom earlier and it did, but whatever. So
All good.
Here's what I've got. Good afternoon and hello to all, well, good evening and hello to all you members of the Air Quality Control Board. I thank you all for the efforts making in Colorado for clean air. We all want cleaner air. My name is Patrick Moore. I've lived in Colorado for 32 years. My wife Sabrina is 65. She's been a lifelong resident. I started my work career as an electric line tree clearance trimmer. Later, I owned and operated my own tree trimming and removal business. Following that, I became a professional truck driver, and the majority of my trucking experience has been in the oil and gas industry, hauling fluids in tankers. I have worked in Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, and Texas. From what I have observed, the oil and gas operations in Colorado drilling sites are the cleanest and most environmentally friendly. I want to convey to the board my deep concern about certain regulations I've heard the board wishes to implement, that being the extra taxes on certain businesses. As a former business owner myself, I can tell you that will only succeed in driving many businesses out of the state. The majority of the citizens are employed by small business. And my research says that the state of Colorado derives 1/3 of its tax revenue from oil and gas industry, although somebody else said only 11%. Many Coloradoans are employed there. Colorado is number 4 in oil and gas production in the nation. Not only is it vital to Colorado's economy, but to our nation's prosperity and national security. As a side note, my wife and I are moving out of Colorado at the end of January next year because we cannot afford to retire here. If these implementations are to be successful and cause no harm, common sense, long distance forward thinking, and a balanced approach must be employed. And once again, I thank you all for your time. Sincerely, Patrick Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
You're welcome.
Next up is Charles Thomas.
Hello, my name is Charles Thomas. I'm a retired engineer and live in Aurora, Colorado. I have science and mechanics from Georgia Tech and over 50 years experience in the energy sector. During my career, I worked for a major petroleum company for 20 years as a research scientist, reservoir engineer, and a manager. And 15 years as a contractor to the U.S. Department of Energy's Idaho National Laboratory and in Alaska for the Arctic Energy Office. At the INL, I managed projects and performed research on novel oil recovery and soil remediation technology, and oil and gas resource and environmental evaluations for the DOE's Office of Fossil Energy and the state of Alaska. At the Arctic Energy Office, our objectives were to support the oil and gas industry for environmentally sustainable oil and gas E&P in Alaska, and to evaluate alternative energy sources for Alaska towns and villages. This work involved collaborative efforts between the oil and gas industry, state of Alaska, and federal agencies. These experiences showed me how collaborative work by industry and government agencies to develop rules and regulations based on science and economically viable engineering technology are essential. Regulations should be developed from science-based research and analysis and not on wishful thinking that can result in poorly formulated rules, which harm crucial industries and cause economic strain to our state and nation. In conclusion, I returned to Colorado in 2008 to complete my working career and live my retirement in Colorado. I have asthma and ride my bicycle on the Colorado Front Range, hike and ski, and certainly appreciate the need for clean air. I encourage you as members of the commission to be realistic and prudent in your recommendations so that you do more good than harm to our state with your recommendations. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Next up is Keith LeMay.
Yes, I'm Keith LeMay. I'm, yeah.
Go ahead.
Common mistake, no worries. I've lived in Colorado for 60 years. I've spent 7 years in the U.S. Army. Part of my time was out at Fort Carson. I am now a retired postal worker and a disabled veteran. I've been involved in logistics in the U.S. military and the Postal Service, so I understand how rules and regulations impact the bottom line. My parents ran their own business as I grew up and saw how changes in rules cause issues in the day-to-day operations. I've been active in the veterans community since 2003. I've held offices in the American Legion in the local, district, and state level. I've championed the naming of the Veterans Clinic for a local Medal of Honor recipient. I've been working with the city of Colorado Springs to get repairs done for the Veterans Memorial. I wish to thank the Air Quality Control Commission for the work they've done to clear up the air in Colorado. I've seen vast improvements in the air quality in Colorado Springs and Denver area since the 1970s. I do remember that brown cloud of Denver as we come up from Colorado Springs. I enjoy now being able to clearly see the skyline as I go up to the Denver Capitol building. The regulations appear to be costly and cause a burden to most people in Colorado. The higher cost and fees and all will cause the average person to have to find ways to save on other parts of their spending. As we've seen in the past, the cost will be passed down to the people who are on limited budget, with the fees that can be adjusted with no oversight and will cause undue burden on all businesses and the people in Colorado. I just wish to remind you, Colorado gas and oil industry have done an amazing job in reducing the ozone pollution as to stop these regulations from taking place. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Lemay. Next up is Janet Weipert.
Yeah, congratulations. I'm pronouncing it right.
All right.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I'm Janet Weipert and currently live in Centennial, Colorado. Born in Rangeley and growing up all along the Rocky Mountains, I am very glad to be back in this beautiful state. My father was a petroleum engineer, and I also worked in the industry. I appreciate your continued support of the businesses that are affected by these regulations, seeking a balance between clean air and a prosperous Colorado that is affordable to all of us by looking at and updating the regulations twice yearly. Since the passing of the 2019 law to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 25%, the goal has been surpassed, all the while ramping up oil and gas production. Having had respiratory problems all of my life, this is very greatly appreciated. Additional regulations to decrease them by 50% will be very costly, increasing permitting time and production costs to all the businesses involved. The additional monitoring and fees will substantially raise consumer costs, hurt businesses, and put unnecessary burdens on our marginalized and low-income families, particularly hitting our senior citizens very hard. It also increases the ways that companies are able to help our communities by their quiet involvement and donations that improve the quality of life, particularly for school children. The increase in regulations has no guarantee that there will be an additional reduction in ozone and carbon dioxide. There has always been an air pollution problem at the Front Range, particularly Denver, because of geography. Please take all this into consideration and do not increase the regulatory burden at this time, allowing the current regulations to improve our air quality. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Weipert. Next up is Rose Porter. Rose, you were just on briefly, so if you could unmute yourself and jump on, that'd be great. Rose Porter, you still there? We're not hearing you if you're trying to speak. I don't see her on the list. I'm trying to flip through the list, unless I'm overlooking her, which is possible. We'll move on and come back. Let's go to Megan Weisner.
Good evening, commissioners. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Great. Thank you for this opportunity to comment tonight. I'm Megan Weisner, Senior Health Scientist at Environmental Defense Fund. EDF has engaged in state initiatives to improve air quality and protect the environment in Colorado for decades, having participated in several rulemakings in front of this commission. I'm here today to discuss the need for additional VOC and NOx control measures to restore healthy air to the Denver Metro North Front Range ozone non-attainment area. The state is seeking voluntary reclassification to severe status for the 2015 standard, which pushes the attainment deadline out to 2033.
Megan, wait, I think accidentally muted you because someone else turned on their mic. And anyway, so turn your mic on. Thank you. We'll allow a little time. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. No problem. The state is seeking to voluntarily reclassify the area to severe for the 2015 standard, which pushes the attainment deadline out to 2033. That means residents may need to wait another 8 years to breathe clean air during the ozone season. The Environmental Defense Fund urges the AQCC to implement all available measures to reduce ozone precursor emissions in order to restore healthy air to the ozone non-attainment area expeditiously. We submitted comments in support of a measure to reduce VOC emissions from planned separator maintenance activities to the docket on November 4th. Our comments recommended that oil and gas facilities with existing control devices on site capture or control separator emissions year-round. This recommendation is consistent with a proposal initially put forward by the Local Government Coalition, a party to the ozone rulemaking. And since that time, the division and the LGC have withdrawn their proposals and, along with the Joint Industry Working Group, are supporting future stakeholder discussions regarding the need and availability of technically sound and feasible approaches to minimize emissions from separator maintenance activities. Per our written comments, we support reasonable approaches to minimize VOCs and co-pollutants, including methane and HAPs, from planned separator maintenance activities. Enforcement requires that preventing of VOCs during high ozone days or the summer ozone season can help restore healthy air to Colorado. Such measures can also reduce the release of methane, a potent greenhouse gas, and hazardous air pollutants like benzene, a known carcinogen. We urge the Commission to continue to evaluate all feasible ways to restore healthy air to the ozone non-attainment area as quickly as possible. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Ms. Weisner. Now back to Rose Porter. Ms. Porter, are you on? Okay, I'm not seeing or hearing you yet. So Elizabeth Relford.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now,
I am
Ms. Porter.
definitely having technical difficulties here, so bear with me, please.
No problem. We can hear you now, so please go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you for listening and for this chance to do this. My name is Rose Porter. I am a fourth-generation native. Having grown up in the Springs, I've seen lots of changes, some good, some not. I guess that's the same everywhere, but this is my home. I watched the smog along the Front Range come and then go. It went thanks to new regulations on our cars. It made a wonderful difference. While some regulation is needed to keep our air, water, and ground clean, I fear rules for the oil and natural gas people keep rising as the current values are met. Each new level comes at a cost to ONG, and so to us. Colorado is the most regulated state in our union, and yet ONG still strives to meet and exceed these expectations. It's as if there's an ongoing effort to put them out of business. At the COP30 meeting in October, it was stated that there are too many buckets that need to be filled. Climate change, hunger, poverty, and education, the buckets need to be rearranged, they said, putting climate change as the end, as the other issues have become too important. I was raised always to conserve our resources. My family's mantra was Colorado doesn't have all that much water, and my children and grandchildren live by the same rule. The last 2 years, my utilities have gone up $100 a year, and yet another increase comes in January. Last year, our property taxes went up, followed by our home insurance. Now choices must be made. Where do I cut back? My circle of friends are all over 70. Once a month, we get together and play cards, and sometimes we drink scotch. The conversations lately turn to the cost of living. The fear is real. We have always taken care of ourselves. That's how we were raised. I promise you, a lot of your constituents are in the same boat. Please keep all of us in your thoughts as these make your as you make these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Porter. And now, Elizabeth Relford. Thank you for your patience, Elizabeth. Go ahead.
No problem. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
All right. Good evening, commissioners. I'm Elizabeth Relford, Executive Director of the North Front Range Metropolitan Planning Organization. And tonight I am speaking on behalf of my Planning and Air Quality Council. For those new commissioners, the North Front Range MPO includes 15 member municipalities in northern Colorado, including the urbanized areas of Fort Collins, Loveland, and Greeley in Larimer and Weld counties. The North Front Range Council supports clean air for all and cares about the well-being of the residents of our communities. We believe collective impact works best when focuses on what is in the best interests of the people we serve and not just our individual organizations. So our ask this evening of the AQCC is to align our efforts to make the greatest impact together, which is why the North Front Range Council supports APCD's proposed SIP rules for your consideration. We want to thank APCD staff for all their coordination with our agency. And as we continue to collaborate on future SIP updates, it would be our hope that AQCC will be using the most current available source apportionment data to support future SIP control strategies that will be responsible and affordably move the emissions needle to improve ozone for our region. Again, I want to thank APCD staff for all their hard work on this rulemaking, and I appreciate your time tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Relford. That brings us to the end of the list. I don't believe there are any folks who are signed up. We still have names in white. We have not missed anyone. I did promise an opportunity for some folks who are in attendance who had hoped to sign up or maybe thought they had signed up to have a chance to speak. So if you would raise your hand or press *6 to unmute your phone. I see Mr. Sandberg there. I know he had a friend. I'm not sure if that was with him. Are there any others wishing to speak? And help me, Jeremy. I'm trying to look for hands.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any other than perhaps Mr. Sandberg. So.
Yeah, this is Bill Hembry. Martin Sandberg mentioned me. I'm piggybacking on his session.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm an Air Force veteran who's lived in Colorado for a quarter century. I'm retired from a successful software engineering career and now live in southern Larimer County, inside the so-called ozone non-attainment area. I can see Rabbit Mountain eagles soaring past my windows more days than not. Like me, they seem to have no problems which are ozone related. None of the ozone monitoring stations are within 10 miles of my house, so I have to wonder how my local non-attainment was measured. After decades of ozone monitoring and mitigation, there is little to show for these efforts. I have read peer-reviewed studies showing that during the summer, the period of greatest ozone non-attainment, between 65% and 75% of VOCs, the principal ozone precursors, come from trees, primarily evergreens. If the overriding goal of the AQCC ozone regulations is to reduce ozone by reducing precursors, perhaps trees should be mitigated. It certainly makes more sense than chasing increasingly smaller sources of precursors. The petroleum industry has reduced its release of ozone precursors by about half over the last decade. Aren't additional regulations already past the point of diminishing returns? Petroleum drives the world's economy, including here in Colorado. Please bear in mind the lessons of some other countries where government control led to underinvestment and effectively killed the golden goose, causing tax revenues to plunge. So enlightened self-interest means the government should tread as lightly as possible in regulating industry. I am concerned that the constantly increasing regulatory burden on the oil and gas industry is squeezing out smaller and even medium-sized companies, leaving only the giants. This is very anti-competitive. It's also an iron law of economics that as costs go up, prices will rise or supplies will fall. Please stop slowly strangling the petroleum industry for the benefit of all Coloradans, and thank you for listening, commissioners.
Thank you. And Bill, I did not catch your last name. Would you please restate it?
Hembree, H-E-M-B-R-E-E.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Hembree. I think that concludes our public comment, unless there are others who wish to speak. I'm not seeing any hands at this moment. I would just say Thanks to all of you for your comment and for your diligence to staying on time. A lot of you kind of got right at 2 minutes inside and wrapped up, so I really appreciate that. We as commissioners appreciate all the input we get from the public, whether in public comment sessions like this or that, those comments that are submitted in writing. We look at all of those and thank you very much for that. I was also remiss in not thanking all the veterans for their service. We appreciate that very much as well. And I would open it up for a couple of any comments from any of my fellow colleagues on the commission before we wrap up. Any other folks have any reflections? I am not seeing any. It must be dinner time and everyone's anxious to go eat. I will say for my colleagues on the commission, the plan for tomorrow, we will start at 9. We will have non-ozone business from 9 to 11, and then we will start the ozone rulemaking. My goal is to get through direct testimony tomorrow. We may stay a little past 5 to do that. We'll see how it goes. Of course, that also depends on how many questions we ask, but hopefully be done no later than 6 tomorrow, and try to get through all the direct testimony tomorrow is my plan for the day. We'll see how that goes or not. And with that, I will turn it back to Commissioner Slutsky to wrap us up for the evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Reeder. And I would just echo Commissioner Reeder's remarks, and thanks to all of you for your well thought out and timed comments. So with that, we're going to adjourn for the night and return tomorrow, as Curtis said, at 9 a.m. It is 6:11 p.m. and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone.